Well, so we're ready to do some discussions on the AM Talk. I have here with me Member of Parliament for Tema East, Daniel Ni Quartet Titles Glover. A very good morning to you, sir. You look very sporty this morning. No work? No.
Good morning to our viewers.
Morning.
And,
I always love the way you start your interviews. You're a man diesel, you know. When you accelerate, you are very difficult to control. Anyway, how has been your holidays?
Oh, it has been a bit hectic because I have to be with my people.
Yeah. But you are very cool. You are in a very cosmopolitan area. You don't receive a lot more calls like those in the rural parts of the country would do. So at least the pressure is not on you that much. And we're all grateful for your constituents.
That is not true.
Thank you for not worrying your Member of Parliament.
Point of correction. Who tells you they don't worry me?
Oh, I'm not sure.
The pressure we in Greater Accra will soak is one of those who come from the countryside.
You soak just cosmopolitan pressure.
Look, the pressure we are going through, because once in a while on recess before they move to their constituencies outside Accra, but we'll live with them, we'll sleep with them, we'll wake up with them.
So it's better. So that's better.
It's serious.
So you don't have to wait and face it later. You face it as and when.
It's serious, but
you don't have to do compound interest. They do compound interest.
That is whatever
you're unable to resolve, you keep it and pay interest on it.
It's just by the grace of God that has kept us up to this time. So
you're looking good, though.
To God be the glory.
And where you are, the emergency sitting?
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
And what really happened really saddens me as a Ghanaian.
Oh, what do you mean? The Thinking on TV was live and the speaker made a ruling. Please,
I'm a contributor of SNIT. And this year is going to be 23 years for contributing into SNIT. So if by the SNIT law they are saying that by cluster action, right, Andrew Awuni cannot have a locus into this matter at courts. Therefore, the people's representative also having got the right to have full disclosure of what went into these 40s or for thieves, whatever
it's
now people
thieves
or whatever they are calling it, then I'm disappointed.
It's not for thieves, it's for thieves.
You know, the speaker is my very good friend.
But in the House, they don't deal with friendship. They deal with what your standing orders say and what the law says.
When you have set a precedent, you have asked Honorable Nitiwo, the mover of the motion, to read his motion. Then there was this interruption from the majority leader and Honorable Ayene, quoting certain authorities and all that. Papa Usankuma have to come in and draw the line. So we all thought that he's going to abide by his ruling because he was asking the majority leader whether he was challenging the chair. But I thought that was a drama. But let me tell you something.
Please do.
When he was the first deputy speaker of Parliament, the speaker, at the time when Professor Mills, may he so rest in peace, appointed Honorable Mumuni as a foreign minister, he had a case in court. And at the appointment committee, his attention was drawn. He said, Parliament, we are master of our own rules. Therefore, we cannot stand in the way of Parliament. Let us go ahead and vet him. Then also, the controversial 45 new constituencies that was created.
The matter was in court?
The matter was in court.
But it was
Honorable Duajawo was then the first deputy speaker of Parliament who presided over that matter.
So you're saying that it's a matter of double standards?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But my worry, at the time when he was making references to Right Honorable Peter Lajete, did he knew all these things? Did he make quotations and references to all these rulings of Peter Lajete and the commons references that he was making? Why are you treating Ghanaians like this?
Who is treating Ghanaians?
The NDC government and their MPs. So if you are in Nantong, you are in Gushegu, if you are in Tamale North and South and Central, if you are in North Tone, South Tone, and Central Tone, and you are a teacher, you are a watchman, and you are paying SNIT contributions, and your money has been given to 40s, because they are the majority shareholders, SNIT, and we wanted further clarification. We want more disclosures. We want further information. And today they are telling us that the people representative don't have.
You think that should have been granted, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, you've made your points on the subject.
The way they are doing it means that they have something to hide. That is the behavior of the NDC.
We'll have to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be admitting into the discussion also. My next panelist for the show. And do stay on. We'll be right back. We've been joined by Nana Yao Educhum. He's a country director for Youth Economic Dialogue. Thanks for joining us. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
And now we have to talk about President Mahama. Yesterday, according to some Ghanaians, he performed creditably. And so I have to start with you. What would you say about the event yesterday?
Well, thank you very much. I think it was a good build-up on our democracy. And I must emphasize that it's not the first time that is happening. During the MPP regime, President Kufuor even took it a step further by engaging broader society, not necessarily the media. But if you ask me personally, I think the president's delivery was good. He was a bit, to some extent, candid on some issues, which we'll get into. My interest with regards to the 40s and the fact that he has his brother's company involved in it, and the answer that he gave, I think, was refreshing. If we can have information to the contrary, that indeed, one, he has some shares or he is a part owner of that company, then I think he raises a serious issue of impeachment, because it means that what the president said was very emphatic, that he has no single interest or shares in EMP. So if we can prove otherwise, I think that will be very, very damaging to the president. Then on the issue of if you owe, pay your debt, to me that was very refreshing. And it should send a clear signal to state institutions, especially the banks that state has interest in, that if even you grant loan to a perceived politician, business person, it is very important that you take measures to recover the money, irrespective of the person's connection to power. It doesn't matter. And I really like the way the president put it. And I'm really pushing that. On your show, one of your programs, Mr. Kwekubako told us that by 15th of December, EMP was going to pay the money. I haven't checked, but I don't think that has been fulfilled. What it means is that we should work towards getting the money. And my view is that I'm not against the sale of merchant bank, because if you go back into their performance, they need recapitalization. Their debt portfolio is not the best. So change of leadership will help. But we need more transparency. We need more information from the deal. And I believe that what the president did was just a 1% of what we need. So Senate, I think, as TUC is advocating for, another group are asking for, including our churches. We need more information.
The event yesterday, your own assessment?
Honestly, I never sat to observe the program.
You didn't listen?
I did, because I was running around. I was in a couple of few offices when I saw him answering some of the questions. And for me, the invitation was selective, because there are some media members or media houses that I'm told were not invited.
Like?
A typical example of Kansas City Media Limited.
Kansas City is which one?
Oman FM. They were not invited, because if you want to have a very pluralist media interaction, you don't become so selective, because as if you are envisaging a line of certain questions that will be asking you.
The way invitees all the way even from Kumasi and the rest.
And I'm saying that even those in Accra here, they were not invited.
Really?
And it did not start from President Mahama. Even at the time when the ex-president was alive, they were not invited to any of such programs. And
you think that's discriminatory? Absolutely.
And I think that if we really want to enrich our democracy, we should open the frontiers of media pluralism, And for me, that was a big minus in that whole exercise that was done yesterday. Yesterday night and this morning, I listened to some of his audios, a typical example of this Fortis deal, and the fact that EMP, being his brother's company, of course, we all need to promote Ghanaian businesses, I'm all for it. I'm all for it because in the past, there are paintings and the, what they call it, the wushu, and today we have the Zoom Lions and others who are the emerging entrepreneurs of this country. Therefore, if a young businessman goes for a loan to expand his business, there's an arrangement for payment and all that. And if he has refused to pay, not even him alone, all those who have taken the loans, what has been the arrangement in making sure that these monies are collected? I believe that if they have a very strong arrangement to make sure these bad debts are collected, we wouldn't have come this far.
Well, yesterday he made the comments that really what Merchant Bank needed to do was to make sure that they put together a tax force and go and
he should tell his brother to pay, because it's a bit.
Well, he says he has no interest in his brother's.
He can say that. He cannot say so. He can say that. Do you understand? Because
I don't.
That's what I'm saying. That
his brother ran the business separate of all family ties.
His lawyer, Anthony Lito, is the lawyer for Fortis. Is the lawyer for his brother. So you look at the conflict of interest. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an ordinary Ghanaian and the contributor of Senate for 23 years this year. His lawyer is the lawyer for Fortis at the same time to his brother. So you look at the dynamics around all these things. I heard him saying that he received a petition from advocacy, something, and the matter is in court. And how can he intervene in this matter so long as the matter has ended in court?
Which is not. Is it not true? Because your speaker has ruled on the subject when you were in Parliament on Monday, I believe.
Yeah. So the issue here is that when this Fortis deal was going on, looking at the history of Rand, and I'm sure the kind of critique that Fortis is going through today is even more than that of Rand. But the president was able to step in. Yes, even if there's a matter in court, you can delegate your Attorney General to step in and appeal to the court. It can be done. So that excuse that he's giving that the matter is in court, therefore I cannot touch it. For me, it is not the best for us.
Doesn't wash.
At all. Because the kind of critique that Fortis has been bashed is even worse than Rand. But he was able to step in. Why is the president quiet? Why is he not talking?
Yesterday he talked on the subject.
It's because there is an opportunity, because he envisaged that a lot of the questions that will be coming will be dealing with the Fortis matter. Why should Ghanaians be denied the information?
But he didn't only talk about Fortis. You see
I'm
so
coming.
much.
I'm coming.
Okay. I wanted to say that you seem so much fixated on Fortis.
This matter is going to run through. Okay. Because that is the more, we should even talk more about these things.
Okay.
I have contributed as far back 2nd December 1991 in Aloex. And I'm continuing to pay SNET. And I'm being told I don't have the right to know what has gone into this transaction.
That's a court ruling.
That's
why you have represented, you have a board.
Relax. This is not hot issues. It's hot issues in the British media. Where you have an indemnity clause surrounding this transaction, what does that tell you? We don't have the right to know what is going to this deal? Is that what they are telling us? I don't think that is how we want to build this country. And I can tell you, they are going to sell Tamale Refinery. They'll be selling VRA. This is what is happening. So I think that the president, in a way, has been too silent on this matter until he broke the ice yesterday. We need more answers to this Fortis deal. And I'm disappointed in organized labor because I'm part of them. I started my politics from the trade unions. And I'm totally disappointed in organized labor, the way this matter is being handled. Honestly, all those 4 representations on the SNIT board, the way they have handled this matter, how come the Merchant Bank, some of the board members were able to resign? Because they are not satisfied. They win this matter. Look, when Trust Bank was being bought by EcoBank, there were equal eyebrows of these public critique on this matter. Bank of Ghana set up a special investigation body to go into that transaction. So the question you ask yourself is,
why was this also not done?
Why was this also not done? Why was this also not done? and the rush at which this transaction is being disposed, it smacks a lot of suspicion.
Suspicion by who?
Of course.
From where?
You will not see it today, but I can tell you, any future MPP government will revisit this matter. Trust me. Whether you are Wampa, you are Ernest Thompson, you are who, this matter will be revisited, and people will have serious questions.
Are you issuing threats?
I don't care if I'm issuing threats because I'm contributing to slate, and I'm dissatisfied.
Well, there's been a court ruling, and that aspect of that you keep reiterating about a SNIT contributor needing. That's why you have representation. SNIT has a representation on the board of Merchant Bank. Doesn't that suffice?
It doesn't suffice.
Okay. Now on this very subject, do you think that should be made the thrust of the discussions following whatever interactions took place yesterday?
Oh, I don't think so. I think there are, for me and where I sit, the president also raised issue about jobs, and I think that is very central to this Fortis Merchant Bank deal. Is just a one-off transaction in my view. And to add a little bit to what Honorable said, I think that we should rather target institutions, because as he himself mentioned, you have the SNIT involved, we also have Bank of Ghana involved, and I think that we should take them to task to give us more information. And I agree perfectly with him that we need more information.
Why is it that whatever the subject is, there seem to be, well, if it's not an attempt, perhaps is it an agenda to pull the presidency into a matter which has an entity or entities dealing with the subject?
Well, the problem we have is that our governance is structured such that you have the chief executive being the president. He's the only person who is so elected and takes all decisions on our behalf. He spends our money. So I don't have problem with advocates pointing to the direction that the president should be head on the subject matter. But the important thing is that if we want to get the right information, I think that there are institutions that we have to target them, we have to push them for the information that we want. And in this context, we have the SNIT, we have the Merchant Bank. The issue about the transparency, I think it should be of interest even to the government. And that one, I agree with Honorable that the president should show leadership, and that's why I said that his emphatic statement that if you owe, you must pay was very refreshing, but we should go beyond that. Most of us may be satisfied when more information are provided, but it's very important that you provide the information on time. What would be the need if, for example, in 6 months' time, now we have new board, now we have new executives in place, that we get to know that, oh, the 90 million or so came from somewhere in Dubai or somewhere in New York.
Would it have mattered?
Yes. So now we need that information. And I, with my interaction in the media, everybody is interested in knowing the source of that money. I wanted to also touch on the jobs when you come back.
Let me just do one more round of Fortis, and then I'll get to speak on the substances of what the president spoke about, and then also whether even the media asks the right questions or not. Now, on the last question I would want to ask, before Parliament, your Parliament, of which you're a member, okay, we're taking a short break, we'll be right back. Well, again, this morning we're just doing substitutions and resubstitutions. And so we've substituted our first guest with our second one, and we have Ahmed Ibrahim. He's a member of parliament for Banda, and Banda is located in the Bonafo region. For many of you who know time, you just do the connection. How are you? It's been a while. Your comment on the president's event yesterday?
First of all, let me take this opportunity to say a very good morning and a happy new year, belated new year to our cherished viewers, especially the people of Branhafo and former constituency time and the current one as the Banda constituency. And a very good morning to our cherished NDC Parliamentary caucus. You know, I'm the deputy majority whip as well. So I must wish my caucus a very good morning. Concerning the president program yesterday, I think In short, it was the best that one expected to have. And if you say it was a summary of all the activities that happened within a whole year, and I think that is what democracy stands for, accountability to the people.
What took place yesterday was accountability.
Accountability. You must be accountable. You must show.
Well, the critics will not share your view because they felt that the president was beaten around the bush.
A critic is a critic. Therefore, definitely they may have every opportunity to criticize me. But if they tell me the president was beating around the bush, but I will not totally agree. These were cogent issues that people were asking answers for. And these were exactly what the president sought to do. If you ask a day before yesterday, you realize that we were even in Parliament seeking to investigate some issues. And therefore, the president couldn't have gotten that opportunity without even touching on those sensitive issues.
Well, he did touch on the subject, and I believe that you're making reference to the Fortis merchant bank deal. And particularly, what the critics are saying that was that, well, he also decided to toe the line of your speaker, that is the Speaker of Parliament, that there was a subject on the same issue in court, and as a result of that, it needed not to be something he thought he should have gotten himself involved in. Did you also share that same view?
Clearly speaking, the president has been a member of Parliament for the past 12 years before becoming a vice president and therefore president as well. Therefore, he knows the parliamentary practice and procedure. He was one of the leadership of Parliament. And therefore, the same speaker that you are saying that they share the same view was also a member of Parliament for about over 20 years before becoming the Speaker of Parliament, and was in the leadership. Therefore, he also knows parliamentary practices and procedure. Therefore, I'm not in doubt why the two will be well versed in the parliamentary practice and procedure and towing the same line. If there were differences between their views, that's why I would have said that something went wrong somewhere. But because of the fact that both were hammering on the same standing order 93.1, that tells you that they are both aware of the same provision in our standing orders. And my brother, you see, one thing that is very, 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 very funny to me is when it suits our opponents, they also quote Order 93.1. Then when it doesn't suit them, then they shy away from Order 93.1. This Order 93.1, I came conversant with Order 93.1 from my opponents who are the minority or the MPP in Parliament today. When cases were before Parliament, they were quoting it. No, Parliament has no practice, no right to do that. No, this case is in court, this case is in court. What has changed? Then when you read the same provision very well, what they quoted and what we learned from them, I learned Order 93.1 from the minority. I didn't know that Order 93.1. I had not finished reading all the standing orders of Parliament.
Well, you can't say that. You're a member of Parliament. You're supposed to be very, very well versed within the tenets of the orders or the standing orders of Parliament.
I had not finished, and they started
let's come to the substantive. Let's come to the substantive before we wrap up on you with this very subject. That there had been precedent in Parliament. For example, when Honourable Mumuni was expected to have appeared before the Appointments Committee, he had a case in courts, and we've had other references made as well. That, in a way, according to the critics, smacked of double standards.
What clearly...
You can't spell A yesterday and decide to turn it upside down today.
There is... I had the standing order.
No, you want to quote it, you can...
When you read the standing order, I can quote it without even going into it.
Yeah, it's been quoted several on this very platform.
Because it has been a very famous quotation. The order states that as it may, in the opinion of the person presiding, prejudice the case pending in court. So, if you look at clearly what the standing order 93.1 is saying, the onus lies or the discretion lies on the person presiding. You have to decide.
And in this position, we have the speaker. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. What would he have taken out of the proceedings of Parliament if the speaker had ruled that perhaps a committee should have been set up for whatever the motion sought to achieve to be achieved? Or perhaps even the matter brought before the committee of the whole, because I know those are the procedures, or unless you have a specialized committee or the thing is...
Yes, clearly speaking, what the speaker continued after within his ruling, he continued citing all those. He said that this case has been in court. A first ruling has come. 2 rulings are yet to be made within this month. So what prevents Parliament from waiting for within this month when the ruling comes? Then you set your committee.
So you're saying that the motion can be brought back to the House?
Exactly within this month. After the ruling of the court. That was the Speaker said.
Mr. Titus Grover, is that true? Do you get that same understanding from the ruling of the Speaker?
From waiting when the court gives its ruling on the 27th of this month before you do whatever you want to do.
Relax,
That's what you said.
You're so much agitated. Don't worry. Do you get that same feeling from the ruling of the Speaker? Because in the public space, that is not the mindset.
Are we fighting here?
No,
we just want an
No, you're a very calm person.
I'm not calm.
My brother Titus is calm.
I'm not calm.
That I will learn to become from my brother Titus.
But the point is that I'm worried and sad what my leader is doing and the position the NDC majority have taken. This ruling is a partisan ruling.
Really?
I have no regret at all.
It smacks of partisanship?
Because you are
what
asking,
evidence do you have?
You are asking my leader. The precedent has been set. Okay? Did they wait for the ruling for this, the creation of the 45 constituencies? Because the ruling was almost close. It was almost close. But they decided not to wait for the ruling. The same Speaker was the chairman who was presiding over the 45 constituencies that were created. When he said when he sued us, we make noise about it. So what is happening here? What is happening here? So the 45, they were able to allow it to go because there's nothing wrong with Order 93.1. There was nothing wrong with Order 93.1. There was nothing wrong with Mumuni's case according to Order 93.1. You see, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Just as you could not be patient to wait for the ruling of the 45 new constituencies to be created, that is exactly what is happening. That is exactly what is happening. And the people's representative, we have been denied access to an information.
He still says that as far as we are concerned, you still have the opportunity to bring the motion.
The opportunity was there then.
Well, the opportunity is still
then.
There. Because I know it's here, and I know you're very familiar with the Order 93.1.
Ganesh knows those of us who want the truth. Why are they hiding? What are they hiding? What is the INDC hiding? That they don't want us to know the full disclosure so far as this deal is concerned.
Okay.
What are they hiding?
The ruling of the Speaker, does it contravene whatever content is here as far as the Order 93.1 is in your standing orders? Because it says that reference shall not be made to any matter on which judicial decision is pending in such a way as may, in the opinion of the Speaker, prejudice the interest of parties to
my brother, action. I know Order 93.1.
I know you know.
What was done yesterday is the same thing that has been done today.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he decided not to go by it. Okay. When Mumuni was being appointed as Minister of State, he had a case in court. Then when he was presiding as chairman of the appointment committee, he saw nothing wrong about it because attention was brought to Order 93.1.
Okay,
then the 45 new constituencies, his attention was drawn to it. And he did the hard work. So what again?
My brother, you see, the creation of the 45 new constituencies, I was in Parliament then. He was not in Parliament. I know clearly what happened. And my brother, you know where we started from. We started from CI 73.
No, I'm not a member of Parliament, so you cannot...
As a country, we started from CI 73. We ended up, before we could pass those things, we ended up in CI 78. Always to make sure that the court cases and all those things had been dealt with. So that's why when they say, this court case will make sure that this one doesn't pass. In order to satisfy that one, then CI 74 will come. 75 will come.
But you set a bad precedent when you do this for the future.
Exactly.
That's the point.
By the time we passed CI 73, that he's saying, it was in October. It was in October. And we were to go into elections in December.
And so
if clearly you
rules
look
are rules and regulations are regulations.
So what does this in the opinion of the Mr. Speaker?
Okay.
So in the opinion of Mr. Speaker, at that time, from October to December,
his side of the House thinks the Speaker was very partisan.
You can't say partisan. His opinion. That was his opinion. The other says that in the opinion.
I'm saying that their opinion says that the speaker was partisan.
That is why I say that if they strongly believe in it, and it was they quoted it in Moni's case, they quoted it in this, then they should have gone back to this case when we take it will not work.
We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that we're discussing what the president's comments are on this very subject. And they have now, Mr. Titus Glover, if you take a look at
opportunity after the ruling on 27th, they have opportunity to call
all right.
investigation. That is man beef.
Well,
and I'll be happy if they do that.
Mr. Glover, according to the president yesterday, Mr. Titus Glover, the country had faced enormous challenges during the year, and the president thought that really a lot has been done by his government over the last year, and at least some commendation should be given to his government.
Honestly, Roland, it will be quite bizarre for anybody to think that they've not done anything since the past 1 year. Because as a country, we went through one of the testing times of our democracies where the verdict or the election petition verdict was given. For almost 8 months, Ghanaians were glued to their sites, and listening to radio and all that. So therefore, sometimes when I listen to my friends from that side, they tell us that the petition really affected the governance. But I recall at one time when the president traveled out of this country, when he was being asked, he said no, he doesn't feel anything at all. But their propagandists are so professional in saying that it affected virtually everything in this country. And I totally disagree, because they continue to collect our taxes. The revenue were growing and coming, and they were virtually doing everything. Investments and all that were all flocking in. Of course, there may be few people who wanted to be a bit patient to know exactly the angle at which the verdict will be going and all that. But the governance structure of the country never changed. Everything was going on smoothly. The overspending and everything was going on. Do you understand? So I totally disagree.
You mean the last fiscal year?
Absolutely. Now let's look at the educational angle. As we speak now, some statutory monies have not been paid. A lot of money were collected. Our last quarter of our common fund has never been paid. They are still
to members of parliament.
To members, the assemblies.
I'm sure it will be paid.
Hold on.
If they are in arrears, it will not be usual.
Oh, Roland, when you do these things, you truncate my flow. I beg you, thank you. National health insurance. The law says that when you collect these VAT receipts, you have a month to return them. If an individual company refuses to do that, he's punished with a penalty. But you have collected these monies on behalf of National Health Insurance Authority. You sit on the money, you don't return those monies. It happens that it has a multiply effect on the health delivery system of our country. Do you understand? Now, as we speak today, you promise us that you are going to build 200 new second cycle schools.
Yesterday he said there were procurement issues. So
oh, please. Yeah. But you should have all those things before you come and open your mouth and tell us you're going to do that.
Well, your party said they would have done everything free and so would have gone through.
Please. President Mama, like he gave the history of his background, he's not a cheap politician. So before you come out and make certain pronouncement of what you want to do, you make sure
know what the challenges will be. And so
you put everything in place.
How you're going to surmount them.
Do you understand?
Okay.
So now we are being put to test. Now you come back and tell us it's procurement. That is a big flimsy excuse. A big flimsy excuse.
Okay, we do understand it.
We cannot forget about the gargantuan level of corruption that is going all over the place. Corruption is a disease, it's a canker. It has become institutionalized.
And yesterday you made comments about why actions were being taken and how the various institutions that have been tasked to undertake all those investigations had made substantial progress, because he made reference that we're not in the revolutionary era where you can just take people and incarcerate them while you undertake your investigations.
I agree with him.
That made a lot of sense.
I agree with him.
So why the hurry then, Mr. Titus Glover?
You see, there are certain corruptions that are clear cuts, that you can't, I mean, it's straightforward. For example, this Jida, what they call it. I heard recently, was it this week or last week, that Yoko has
Yoko had been working on Jida on the subject. I think that on the subject of Jida,
Yoko has been able to suspend the accounts of certain individuals or companies quite recently. But what about those companies under Jida transactions who are not supposed to collect monies, jobs that they'll be able to execute? They'll be able to collect these monies. You're not able to close the account?
So
that's a level of the double standard.
As far as we're concerned, I think there's been a directive from the Ministry of Finance that no payment should be made to certain companies that have been mentioned in the report. But let me just give the honourable member also the opportunity, especially to comment on the fact that the president said there were challenges within the year, but at least his government should be commended.
Yeah, clearly speaking, my brother, you see, when you give a student questions, the questions must be marked based on the marking scheme on the questions. You can't give mathematics questions and use English to mark them. What was the mandate given to the president on the 7th of January? One, educational sector, like my brother has mentioned, is one of them. Security, maintenance of law and order is one of them. Then the economy is one of them. We have so many sectors.
So your point is?
My point is, well, like I also commend him for conceding that the president must be commended in certain areas, and that is where I'm coming from. And it is a good leader who will concede that, yes, there were challenges, that notwithstanding, these were certain progress that I was able to make. And that is clearly how I can summarize yesterday's program. The challenges, this is a country that faced the most serious challenges within a year.
Which are?
The election petition was one. The severe impact of the single span that brought the overspending that my brother has mentioned is two. And
but your government, your first party government decided to implement
that. I'm coming.
And then the third was what?
Then the third was the serious power outages that happened because of the break in West African gas pipelines also. So these were three serious challenges that the president had to deal with. The election petition could be divided into one because it has serious repercussions on our security. And therefore, even on 29th of August, almost every Ghanaian, apart from those who I know my brother Tatos knows very well that beyond every partisan distance, we are Ghanaians first. So we were of the belief that whatever ruling that comes, Ghana will still be Ghana. But how many Ghanaians had the conviction that Ghana was not going to
and break? So it affected the economy? It
affected our very security. Maintenance of law and order. So for the president to be able to bring the pieces together and for us to enjoy the peace that we are
commendable.
He must be commended on
as
that.
well as all Ghanaians need to be commended for being tolerant.
Exactly.
But on the subject of the single spine pay policy, on the subject of the
so when you have that one, and including the 8-man election petition that he rather put it, that people were glued to their TVs and so it wasn't only the public sector that was not working, the private sector as well. But when you calculate national income, you consider the income from the private sector together with the income from the public sector. So when all of us, both public and private, are not working, there will be negative repercussions.
Even gross domestic income levels
will definitely reduce. Okay. And therefore, you might not be able to have a positive impact on the economy. So all those things have had negative impact on the economy. Then when you come to the energy sector, my brother, energy sector even affected the private sector more than even the public sector. Even hairdressing salons, barbering shops, and all could not work.
Well, precisely his point that these challenges came about and they took time in resolving.
Exactly.
Even though they
three
eventually
serious
were
challenges.
resolved.
Tell me which of them, apart from the single span that the president has not been able to fix. So for him to be able to fix all
well, the president has fixed the single span pay policy. The difficulty is that it's made huge truncations in our budget, and as far as the overruns are concerned.
And that's what I want. I want my brothers on the other side to be always continue. When you say they were overspending, let's agree to the test. Let's testify to the fact that it was as a result of the single span that brought most of this overspending.
Really, in 2012?
When the budget came before us.
Okay, we do understand that.
When the budget came before us, almost we had about 12 labor unrest. And all those things came with unbudgeted money that government had to fund.
You seem very agitated.
So when you go, you see, this was serious challenge. When you mention them, then my emotions begin to burn.
Your emotions should not
They
burn.
were so serious that it took only 11
really, Mr. Brian, let's be realistic. If you take a look at the current state of the country and the promises that perhaps the party and the president made, particularly we take education for example, you talk about 200 schools, and by doing the estimation and the mathematics, you just have to divide 4 by 200. 50 schools were supposed to have been built.
Right.
And do you think that the president's comment that there are expected there were difficulties in procurement, or the procurement foundations needed to be laid before we had actuals, will suffice for any right-thinking Ghanaian? That's the point. The point is about public opinion. And
it's part of it. Procurement issues may be one of them, because procurement issues bring financial, fiscal disciplines and all those, to make sure that you are able to cut your spending, cut cost. So therefore, if because of procurement challenges, all those things are delayed, I think the president still has 3 years. But the problem there is, on the same educational sector, there was overspending of about 139% because of employee salary. In the same thing, so the 39% could have been used to put up these 50 schools that we are talking of. So these were some of the unbudgeted accounts. Parliament budgeted for 100%. Then you go and make payment of employee salary because it was about 139. So the 39% could have been used to procure all these 50 schools that we are talking of. That notwithstanding, the president still says that all these things are going through procurement, but within the first quarter, and this is the first quarter. We are in the first quarter. So even if you're able to establish 50 schools within this first quarter, then it means that the president will be on track, but 50 within this quarter, and the remaining 50, other 50 are also being worked with. Let me tell you, it may not be, I'm clearly understanding that it is not going to be through the budget that was passed that all these 100 schools or 50 schools are going to be procured. Sometimes government, when they are over-ambitious about certain projects, they go in for loans. And these are all part of it. So therefore,
that brings another subject. We shouldn't go there about
what Ghanaians expect is that
you want to react to that, because I wanted to ask whether you are satisfied with the level of questions that were asked by in your estimation, the limited media that was.
I meant to understand is that when Ghanaians look at 3 months to elections, October to 7th of December, the unnecessary pressure on the exchequer, Office of Government Machinery, 6.5 trillion cedis was spent. They had something they call old cedis.
That translates into what?
It's about 600 million Ghana cedis.
And he also explained the Office of Government Machinery.
When you come to social protection, that is where they share these bentua and these tricycles and things.
What is bentua?
What do you call it? These are local. We use in the, you know that stuff.
They share bentua too?
No, that's what they use in elections. These are some of the things. Not more. October, November, and 7th of December, I never heard throughout this country that there was any force majeure or any accident or natural disaster anywhere.
Well, they were flat in 2012, I believe.
No, I'm saying in December, from October, for that period. Look at the quantum of monies that were spent within that time.
You mean that there were no emergencies that were around the overspending?
So where did
that is what you're trying to portray.
Absolutely.
But the way you're saying
the Ministry of Youth and Sports, 3 million Ghana cedis. What did they go and use? And this is the genesis of that GDA scandal.
That's your thinking.
You understand? So it is not absolutely true that it is the single spine that has caused what they call it, the overruns of our budget. You see, sometimes the sole sourcing, the unnecessary procurement of sole sourcing, since they came to power, that is exactly what government has been doing on procurement.
All the time? Or most of the time?
By the rules. My leader
I'm asking you all the time.
That is what is
but that is allowed by the procurement law.
It is only on condition. There's a caveat. When it becomes an emergency, it's become very necessary. That's why you're going sole sourcing.
Yeah, you think some of those projects were not in times of emergency.
So you can imagine the kind of monies that are going where they're not supposed to. You understand? Now, sometimes grants, release of grants to schools, second cycle schools, feedings and all that.
Delayed?
They don't even come. Even school for death.
But there were expenditures.
Of course, there were expenditures. You know, and where we want these monies to be sent to, sometimes we don't see them. Okay? So, honestly, we have a problem. all we need to do as Parliament, having our oversight responsibilities, it is our duty to make sure.
Okay, we do understand that. Do you think that the questions that were asked by your own estimation, so-called limited media invitees?
Well, I think the media, some of them did well. The few...
Is it most of them did well, some of them did?
It would be very unfair on my part to sit here and say that the media has not been fair in the kind of questions that he asked.
You think the question could have been better?
Because I didn't sit to watch fully from the beginning to the end. Because I was in one or two offices and I saw the question. When they ask him about 5-10 questions on the run. He takes his time to write all down. Then Ayaga will come in and give him the go-ahead to respond to some of these things. Some of the questions were good. But for me, he dodged the 40th question with the excuse that the matter is in court.
Why is that there's the overemphasis on the 40th question? There were an array of issues.
You are asking me, and the opportunity that I had is what I'm answering on. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
He may answer questions on it. Because in the media, I heard him responding to the Victoria Hammer saga. You know, he called himself the head coach.
Were you satisfied with that response?
Well.
Because that question also followed a question about what the harmony was between his office and the party hierarchy, because there were concerns raised by even some of his appointees on some of his appointments and the actions that he took.
Our past leader was one of them who raised serious eyebrows about his accessibility. You know, I'm talking about Honorable Bagbin. You know, he had it very difficult in reaching the president. And at the point
and you
in
also
time,
talk about his appointments as
you
well.
know,
even Tony.
Oh, Roland, you ask questions. You don't want me to talk. Oh, please, I beg you. Let me flow.
Please go ahead.
Good. You see, so Bagbin had a problem in getting access to the president. That made him to go out to describe as president for friends and families and all that. You understand? So now, when he says that he's the head coach, and for that matter, as and when he deems fit, because the Constitution gives him that authority to hire and fire. So anybody who is not performing, anybody he thinks that has done something untoward, he has the right to kick the president out. And looking at the circumstances and the things that my younger sister said, I mean, if you're a president, you know, some of these things that happen. But some of the school of thought was that he will have a bit patient, you know, to give...
They could have been on a subject that you yourself think that were insensitive.
Well, the things are so crucial. Things that the lady said were so serious. And I think that his adrenaline might have gone higher. For that matter, he can't wait to tolerate some of these things to happen. So as the head coach, invariably he's admitting that if his appointees are not performing, then definitely he's also not performing. And that is my understanding. So long as he has the power of the Constitution, he can decide to dismiss anybody he wants to. He can decide to bring anybody on board to support his government.
At what time too? Because he made
one time. So it would be unfair on him to say that, and the media, the kind of question that. But for me, the selectivity in the invitation, and for me, there are certain media houses, if they had come, there are some kind of leading person.
Which media houses do you talk about? Apart from Kent City Media?
They're not themselves. They also were not invited. I don't know, but I know for sure that Netu and Oman FM were not invited to the program, and for me, it was a big minus.
Questions by media invitation limited, according to the critics.
Brother, you see, before I comment on that, you see, as members of Parliament, we should be making emphatic statements.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean
my
by
brother
that?
said, Office of Government Machinery. You see, the general public equate the Office of Government Machinery to the President Office.
It's not the presidency.
No. Regional coordinating council, all these money that was
exactly. All the 10 regional coordination councils, Brunhafu, Ashanti, Upper West, Upper East are part of that.
Money left,
Manslog are all part of that. We have so many agencies under the Office of Government Machinery. So when you mention Office of Government Machinery and put the figure, the ordinary person somewhere may be equating that one to President Mahama's office, which is not the case. And that is where I wanted you to draw his attention for him to make clarification.
No, you're a member of Parliament, and it's good that you've drawn the attention of your own member.
I know he's more than capable of explaining. That's what I wanted to draw your attention, but I didn't want to interrupt because, I
think the point he was trying to put across that there was overspending.
Yes, but the overspending I said was as a result of single spend. I made emphatic statement that it was as a result of compensation. As when you go to compensation, the budget that was approved, almost every ministry, wages and salaries.
So I don't digress. The questions yesterday.
GBC alone was giving
questions that were asked yesterday, sir.
21. So when you
questions.
Then when concerning, you see, Roland, you alone given the opportunity 2 hours, you can give President Mahama every question that every normal journalist in this country will ask. You have been in this profession.
I don't think I'm capable.
You are more than capable. I know your capacity. You have more than that capacity. And if you look at the program, the way it went yesterday, it is unfortunate that he's mentioned that Ken City were not invited. I cannot prove whether they were invited and they refused
they were not invited.
Refused the offer or not. I think President Mahama, as a media man, or as a media personality who had the capacity to handle, even to lecture most of these journalists, should not be afraid or refuse inviting opposition media. I think it may not be deliberate, and if it did, then the one who did that one should rectify it the next time. Besides that, if you listen to the generality of views that were coming, they said the president was on top of the issues, but he was able to answer almost every question. And this is the nature of almost all the government or the presidential forum that we've been having. And whenever the president can, it is the information minister who will, all the journalists will come and queue. It is your turn.
Well, he's not saying that it's wrong.
He said Ayariga will come on time and come and do. So that was the kind of it. But you see, I have some confidence in the Ghanaian media. And even when you look at the program yesterday and the way the questions were flowing, journalists proved to us that they are well versed in whatever is pertaining in this country. And therefore, some of us were not media men to go and be asking our own president questions. The questions we were expecting the journalists to be asking were exactly the questions that were being asked. Exactly. You cannot talk without JIDA. You cannot talk without Merchant Bank Fortis. You cannot talk without... So when these questions were being asked from the journalists, I realized that, Ghanaian media is moving ahead of times. You are doing more than is expected of you. So it doesn't matter whether all of them, and there is no way in this world there cannot be 100% perfection. So once all the media, which people, excuse me for my word, criticizes when this is more than Delali guide. But Delali guide were there, they had the opportunity to ask questions. So myself, I was even proud that yes, when you, in politics, when you allow your opponent to criticize you, it gives you the opportunity to improve upon your performance. So when people like Delali Guide and all those who were given the opportunity to ask questions, some of us were satisfied that the program.
Despite some media houses not being invited, you still think that it didn't take the shine out of the program?
That's where I started from. If you listen, I said, if Ken City and this thing were not given the offer, then it wasn't the best. But it is the only station that we can say that out of all the media houses in this country, they were left out. So there cannot be 100% perfection.
Mr. Titus Glover, there's this thing I want us to touch on. Can you give me that paper, A New Age? The Sylvester Mensah, the former member of parliament for Ladade Katupo, and he raised, we'll use 5 minutes to deal with this subject. And he has written a book and titled it In the Shadows of Politics. He said, define political succession plans and term limits or face implosion. I think an advice to political parties. I don't know whether you were at the event. Were you?
He didn't invite me.
Oh, he didn't invite you. I'm sure he should have invited you. And he talks about how democracy now is shaping up within the world, for which Ghana also needed to move to that level. Do you agree with him?
Absolutely, I do agree with him, because in every political party, if you don't have a succession plan in terms of leadership, you may run into trouble, because there are certain times when people occupy space, opportunities and offices. They don't want even to bring the young ones up. It is you, the young ones, sometimes who have to work hard. And regardless of all the hurdles that you pass through before you can get to the top. I had a very difficult challenge, from Tema. I started my politics from the trade unions under the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union of the TUC. Gradually, before becoming an assembly member, I joined my party, the MPP. Gradually, I was learning under the feet on Honorable Ishmael Achite, where some of the boys down the Nado brought us up. He identified us during the days of Alliance for Change and others. He could identify you that, look, this is someone that when you're able to prop you up, that one day you can be able to serve your society and serve your country at large. So I think that it is good for all the political parties to begin to identify certain young ones. And that is why I'm happy when the ex-president Mills was able to pick some of the young guys and give them ministerial appointment. It is a good image for their party, making them to grow, because apprenticeship is very important, you know, so that one day you can grow. And the fact that you are growing, you should not be solely headed. And the fact that you have been given the opportunity, it dawns on you to also make sure you identify certain talent and begin to prop them up. And I think that what Sylvester is doing, or has said, I have to look for a copy of the book and buy and read what the content is all about. Because if you don't do that, you hit your face to the wall.
As a political party.
As a political party, we need to do it. We need to have that chemistry between the old and the young one and blend them. Do you understand? And we need to have certain opportunity. I'm very happy that since I joined Parliament for the first time in Parliament.
And your impact.
And I've been made a deputy ranking member for trade, industry and tourism, working directly under Professor Jambafo. He gives you the room, he gives you the support, because he sees himself gradually he's getting out. So there's a need for him to prop me up, so that one day when I have the opportunity to serve this country, I'll be in that best opportunity to do. As a first year, he can tell you about performance at the chamber, you know, and that is what we're supposed to do. So in doing that, I must also look behind me and see what can I also do. Begin to tap certain talent, because at the end of the day, it is our country that we want to look at and serve.
Your comment, political parties and mini for secession plans.
Yeah, I don't know when the book was.
It was launched on the 28th.
Yeah, but
December.
when he started writing, you know, in book writing, you must start some time before you get to the point. And when you look at what he has clearly stated there, I think it is long overdue. We should define political succession plan or face implosion. It is very true. And when you look at the NDC as a party, I think this is seriously Samuel Spencer is one of the leaders of NDC. NDC government. He has been a former member of Parliament for the NDC, and he's now one of the key decision makers when it comes to regional representation. In the Greater Accra, I think he's one of the leaders of Greater Accra. But this thing here, I'm just a young man, but I'm in part of the leadership of Parliament, serving under the leadership of Honorable Benjamin Kumbo, Alfred Agbesi, Mutaka, and the likes. I must also see myself as somebody who is under them to learn, but not to equate myself with them. That is the problem that we, the youth, must also take into consideration. But when you don't look at that, and as a youth, you are occupying a position in certain legislation, and there becomes a sort of some power struggle. That is where you are beheaded and you are not allowed to get to wherever you have to be. So when you are talking of political succession plan, you must also orientate the youth to recognize ourselves as being there to learn. It's biblical. Elisha learned under Elijah. Joshua learned under Moses. And therefore, when
politics is biblical.
It's biblical. Those succession plans are biblical. That's the point I'm saying. Every successful,
I can see Titus Glover smiling.
Every successful leader, and Titus Glover is learning under Jambafo.
Yes,
so Titus is Elisha, and Jambafo is Elijah.
That's what Titus, before he became an MP, he was already an MP outside. So. Okay, that'll be it for the morning. I have had in the studio the gentleman who just concluded his statement. He's Member of Parliament for Banda. Banda is in the Bonafide region. It used to be called the Tyne constituency. So what are the constituencies now? Banda and Tyne. Banda and Tyne. Okay. So Ahmed Ibrahim is his name.
I know you are well versed in that place. The northern side is the Banda and the southern side is the Tyne.
Yes, the Tyne is the Sekwa area. It's in Kaji's area.
Sekwa, Badu, Soko, the baby, Brody, Menye.
And the black cowboy for the morning. Al Pacino. Al Pacino is Daniel Ni Kwate Titus Glover. He's a member of Parliament for Tema East. He's actually undertaking a project now in your constituency.
Fire safety.
The monies are not coming.
So okay, the money will come. So from here you're going back to
I will investigate him on the fire process. You know, he's saying that the monies are not coming. That now is stand out file motion.
All right, so that'll be it. Two members of parliament, and we've been having some fun here discussing the issues as they arose from the question and answer session yesterday with various newspaper as well as various broadcast media editors with the president. And so that'll be it for AM Talk. Next, we'll continue with programming on the AM show, which is live on the Joy News channel of Multi TV.
Happy New Year.
Residents of the island village said the incident happened at a time their men had gone out for fishing on the Black Volta. They indicated that the gun-wielding men numbering 10 fired warning shots to ward off anybody from coming close to the scene and destroyed their property. Some of the residents who attempted to stop them were beaten, and they could only call on officials of Ghana Association of Sustainable Fishing Communities to come to their aid. Some residents gave account of what happened.
It is a I need obi mujani koye kasa. Sesiano yekunum mujani aja yakaya kwawa.
The assembly member for Bui Maxwell Gbadago expressed displeasure at the attack, which was allegedly carried out by the people of Old Dokuchina. He called on government and the national security to help relocate the fishermen in order to protect them.
We are in a serious need of government to come and help us all to fight this thing, to keep the Bui National Park survive, and also for the fishing industry of the Bui Lake to sustain, so that we can have a good environment of this part of the country, and that can help us achieve a good livelihood for our resettled communities and all the lake catchment area. We are pleading with government to allocate some good area around the resettlement communities for all these people to come and settle out of the park so that their children can have a good education.
Meanwhile, Joy News has learned that the attackers from Old Dokuchina are threatening to mount another major offensive on the fisher folks of Awulekope.